But with our good friend Jed Dietrich, attorney at law, and this morning we're talking about what could be a pretty hot topic, especially in the kind of weather and road conditions that we have experienced lately. We're talking about rear-end collisions. Jed, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John.
Nice to have you on board.
Thank you.
But now we want to let you know you can give us a call and ask Jed a question about basically, I guess, any kind of injury. Our topic is rear-end injuries, but if you've got another injury, you need some question answered, please call us at 644-9840. Your chance to talk to the attorney yourself. I know rear-end collisions, they run the gamut. They can be minor, they can be major.
That's true, John. The important thing to know is that you got to get checked out, even if it looks like a minor problem. Got to get the police involved, get a police report filed so the insurance companies know what happened and we can start a claim. Very frequently when you have a rear-end collision, your neck gets whipped forward, you get held back by the seat belt, and a lot of the forces that are going through the vehicles go through your body into your neck. Neck goes forward and back, and a whiplash injury occurs. And that's a common term. That term can also include disc herniations, and disc herniations are serious injuries, especially if they entrap a nerve. You have headaches or you have radicular pain going down your arms. So I've taken pride in knowing the medical that goes along with these injuries and knowing the right doctors to work with to try to get people the right type of treatment. And if the case goes as far as it has to in terms of going to trial sometimes, we bring the doctors in to tell how the injury occurs and what type of a prognosis the person has and what they need in the future in terms of treatment. So you need to get checked out because frequently you don't know how injured you are right after the collision. Get to the hospital sometimes a day or two or maybe 3 days after the injury. That's when you're in more pain than immediately following the collision.
Yeah, it takes a while for the body to register that pain. I'm thinking back to the days when there was no such thing as a headrest. And even today, you see people that cars had the headrest, and they've taken them off.
That's right.
If anything, the headrest should be in place, and it should be adjusted so that the back of your head is caught if you do that whiplash thing.
That's exactly right, John. And the defense attorneys will ask at a deposition, was your headrest properly aligned? And that's important because if your headrest is not properly aligned, you're not going to get the protection your vehicle could provide to you. And it could be some fault on your shoulders for not properly putting your headrest together, even if you get hit from behind.
Right.
So that's important. The other thing is that when you're valuing an injury like this, to determine how much money or compensation you're entitled to receive. Obviously, if you miss a certain amount of time from work, you're reimbursed no-fault wages, so you don't have to feel like you're not going to get anything until the case is over. You actually get no-fault reimbursement for wages about a month after the collision, and they need a disability note from your doctor and reimbursement information from your employer. But I want people to understand that there's a safety net set up there, so if someone's in an automobile collision, they don't have to wait until the end of the case to get reimbursed for their wages or medical bills. Those things will be paid as the case goes along. And then when the case is ultimately decided, then I handle the pain and suffering for the folks, or other lawyers in Western New York handle that. And that's the important part. Now, pain and suffering, what does that mean? And it depends. It depends on how active your lifestyle was. It depends on what you like to do before and what you can't do as a result of your injuries. So it's very important to have a lawyer who's experienced with regard to handling these types of cases, because an experienced lawyer will be able to say, hey, I've handled a neck injury like this before in a person of a similar age with a certain period of time missed from work, and then you can put a value range on the amount of the injury.
Well, there's probably a myriad or a gamut of occupations that would be affected by somebody sustaining a neck injury or even a minor neck injury in a rear-end collision. Dance instructors, anybody that has to climb telephone poles, things like that.
Exactly.
You can't do your job.
Yeah, exactly. And when you can't do your job, that's when you've got to get the treatment and contact a lawyer so that your rights can be preserved. And you would think that someone who works in the line at Dunlop or GM or a construction worker, obviously they can't work. But then other professions are also taken into consideration. People who work in front of a computer all day and they're hunched over a computer with their hands and they're looking at a monitor all day, their neck can be a real problem, especially if they're getting radicular pain going down their arms. So if you're in an accident and you have radicular pain, headaches, you need to contact an attorney and get to the right doctors right away so that your rights are preserved.
Certain types of teachers if your teaching regimen requires a lot of physical movement and so forth. You are hampered by that too. Hey, we have a phone call.
Okay.
Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. And I'm talking with a question about, the underinsurance policy, and how does that work? Because I was rear-ended. I went through a severe injury of the neck and lower back, and the person that was at fault, they had a $25,000 coverage. The vehicle that I was in as a passenger, they have a $100,000 underinsurance, and the $50,000 medical exposed. So that's gone, which I'm hoping someday lawyers get with whoever they get with and fight and say, hey, because I was hurt in this accident, that the medical should be paid for continuously, because I had my whole neck fused and caged and so forth.
That's a really good question, because you covered the whole area. First of all, as you mentioned, there's $50,000 available to pay for your medical bills and for your lost wages. If you don't have any lost wages, you're not working or retired at the time of the collision, the full $50,000 is available to compensate you to pay for your medical expenses. Then the next issue is, how much insurance coverage did the car have that caused your injuries? And under your example, the person that hit you had minimum coverage in New York is $25,000 per person, which means that the most an insurance company will pay, no matter how serious your injuries are, is $25,000 per person. Now, the next part of the question is an excellent part of the question. I've talked to Linda about this before, John. It's called supplemental underinsurance coverage, and it's coverage you can buy on your own policy. So if someone hits you and they don't have any coverage at all, or they have minimum insurance coverage, you can make a claim up to the maximum amount under your supplemental coverage. In this example, the person that struck the car, $25,000 is the minimum coverage, and then the car this person was driving in had $100,000 in supplemental coverage. So the person had a neck surgery. The first $25,000 comes from the person who was at fault, and that person's insurance company. And then there's a claim for an additional $75,000 because they got $25,000 under insurance, up to the full amount of the underinsurance, which is $100,000. So the total claim under the scenario you just described, sir, would be, you'd be entitled to $100,000, $25,000 from the person's insurance company that was at fault, and then another $75,000 for the car that you were in, their insurance policy. Now, the part of that question that we didn't really develop is that you, sir, you were a passenger in your friend's car. You may have additional underinsurance coverage through your own insurance policy, and your attorney should have checked that out. And if you had questions about that, you could call my office. But if you have an attorney now, you should talk to your current attorney. And this is one thing all the callers and the people that are watching TV should understand. You need to get as much supplemental insurance coverage as you can afford.
Yeah. All right. This has been a real eye-opener in education. Jed, thank you very much.
You're welcome, John.
We really appreciate it. We hope that we helped that caller. Jed Dietrich's law firm can be reached at 839-3939, or go online to calljed.com.